Eliud the person. Of course, a factor, and we go back to our little metaphor of the cake and what all the ingredients that go into make this. We're approaching the first of the roundabouts here. This is the Lusthaus. This is the smaller of the two roundabouts. So essentially, in image terms, we're looking at like a dog's bone, if you like. Great piece along the middle, which is the part of the Hauptallee, and they're now going around the smaller of the two roundabouts, the Lusthaus, and in the middle of that is a former hunting lodge, and it was badly bombed actually during the Second World War and then rebuilt in 1948. There it is, there is the Lusthaus, and it's now, Shalane, a place to grab coffee. It's a cafe and a restaurant, and I think we may all be going for breakfast actually afterwards, and maybe Ellie would join us.
Yeah.
Look, 8 seconds inside, it just shows us, Ed, even in these early stages, just how challenging it is.
Yeah, I mean, they want to run even splits, but it is impossible to run completely even kilometers one after another. So what we're talking about here is someone trying to, get as close as they can to 250 for as long as possible.
As things stand, he is 8 seconds in. The speed here, it's worth, Shalane, just reflecting on this and just trying to put it into some sort of layman's terms. He is going to be running, or trying to run, consistently at 13 miles an hour, 21 kilometers an hour. Extraordinary. We were trying to think last night, were we, over dinner, about an everyday example of what that speed looks like. And in London, where I come from, the average speed, I think, of a London bus and traffic in central London is only about 8 miles an hour. Have you thought of something that will illustrate that?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. I think about, what cars would roll through a neighborhood and through my neighborhood, and thinking that Eliud's running as fast as the cars rolling through my neighborhood. It's mind-blowing. I challenge people to go out to their local track and just run one lap, 400 meters of the track in 68 seconds. I bet you not many people can do that. So that just goes to show, and Eliud has to do that.
105 times.
Yes, thank you for doing the math. 105 times.
Yeah, we can break this down in so many ways, can't we? Yes, one lap of the track, if you go down to your local track, 68 seconds, and he has to do that 105 times. And as we heard earlier on, each 100 meters in 17 seconds, and he will be doing that 422 times. Let's get a pacemakers, the next team
248, so we are under prescribed schedule right now.
Yeah, just a couple of seconds makes all the difference. So we've just given ourselves a little bit more margin for comfort here. 10 seconds inside sub-2-hour pace so far, and we're heading towards the 8-kilometer mark. Ed, just a little update on what we read into the facial expression and the body language of Eliud himself.
Yeah, I think he looks smooth. It doesn't look like he's hurting too badly. This will be a tumult of exertion. There's just no other way to look at it. He's going to spend 2 hours working really hard, but what he's trying to do is tamp down those feelings. Shalane has actually done this, at a professional level and won big marathons, and I wonder what it actually feels like when you're in this situation.
Yeah, these early stages, I'm thinking all about conserving energy, because it's inevitably going to get hard, but you're always hoping that you're having an on day and that the hard doesn't hard to the very end. No matter what, once you hit about 30 to 35K, reality sinks in that you're running a marathon and that you're running very fast. And Eliud is attempting unknown territory. Each step that he's taking is towards history. He is racing the clock and running towards history. So there's a lot of motivation to nail this and get it dialed in. And here we approach the third transition here.
Team 3 just about to take over. The captain, Brett Robinson. And again, we'll introduce you to the members of Team 3, but it's again another very smooth transition. There we can say Henrik Ingebrigtsen, Philip as well, and Jakob centre of picture, all fresh, as Shalane was saying, from the World Championships in Doha. Again, marks out of 10, Ed, for that transition.
I think that one was the best one yet.
Agreed, that looks so smooth. It could be the fact that three brothers are so accustomed to running together, but that looked really smooth.
And the crowd appreciated it as well. You can hear them tapping on the sides there, absolutely fully dialed in. So let's introduce you to this new team. Team 3, remember there are 5 teams in total, and we've not got 1, but 2, but 3 Ingebrigtsen. Shalane, just pick out 1 or 2 of these for us.
Well, so Brett Robinson actually is the team captain. He's the Australian. Oh, Henrik.
Stanley Kebene as well from Kenya. There are 15 Kenyans across the 41 pacemakers. There is Philip Ingebrigtsen as well, the middle brother, and Jakob as well.
Jakob is the youngest of the three Ingebrigtsen brothers. And then we also have Brett Robinson, who I said is the team captain. He's from Australia. It's quite a collection, isn't it?
And we've changed the wingmen, Ed. This time we've got Kipserem and Jonathan Correa now operating as the bottom of the Y.
I think in an absolutely ideal situation, they would be running a bit closer to each other, the wingmen at the back. Apparently that's what helps, prevent the wash. But, I think everything looks pretty good here, and I think the main thing is that Eliud stays quite close to the guy that's in front of him, the captain. I think that's the kind of key part of this formation.
Well, let's hear from one of the pacemakers. Let's hear from Emmanuel Betts, who's been talking to our reporter, Kristen Arnold.
Emmanuel, that formation, why does it work so well?
That formation is very excellent because when we go in that V shape, it really assists Eliud and gives the pacers to attain the 250 mark per kilometer. So I think that strategy is very nice, especially towards the target of 159.59. Yes.
Have you given Eliud the best possible chance at the start?
Exactly. I hope everything will go well. Yes. So I have confidence the way he was running, because I was looking from behind. If it goes, everything goes like that. Excellent. 159.59 will be capable.
And how smooth was that first transition?
It was nice. Everything was in order. It was organized. The pacers are really catching up with the formation. Yes, exchange formation.
Emmanuel, thanks for chatting to us. Go and recover.
Thank you too. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Emmanuel. Yes, his work is done for the day because he took on the first two teams and was one of the two wingmen. So Emmanuel Betts has done a great friend. There we've just got a great shot of the Hauptallee, the main stretch, and it's worth just reiterating, Shalane, that 90% of this entire course is flat and straight.
Yes, you couldn't ask for a more flat and straight road, and that is prime for fast running. Anytime you have to make turns is when you actually are slowing down, so they've minimized the amount of turns.
The target time holding up pretty well. We've been hovering between 8 and 10 seconds inside sub-2-hour pace. So far, so good. And Ed, the next real milestone will be the 10-kilometer mark, and sub-2-hour pace would put him in, 28:26.
Yeah, which is a pretty tidy 10K. And he's got to do it 4 and a bit times.
Do you mind me being rude and asking what your best 10K time is?
My best 10K time is 37:22, I think. So I have, I would be going some. I wouldn't make 500 meters with these guys.
Shalane?
Mine is 30:22 from the Beijing Olympics. So, yep. No. Not even close.
Well,
you're just better than me, Shalane.
Yeah, so approaching 10 kilometers, so we'll be there in, a minute and a half. And just a word about this wonderful Hauptallee. You can see there the chestnut trees that line. It provides a natural protection, doesn't it? As well as being highly beautiful, particularly at this time of year. But any sense of any wind is really protected by these wonderful chestnut trees.
The Prater Park, they call it the lungs of Vienna.
Yeah,
I think
the
that's
green
such
lungs,
a beautiful term. But yeah, it's the trees are literally oxygenating the air, is protecting from any potential wind. However, you don't see any of the leaves moving outside today. It is still as can be.
I feel like with the fog and the leaves on the turn, and we're in Vienna, it feels like a kind of Cold War thriller. It's got this feeling of sort of mystique about it today. Like yesterday was this gauzy sunshine, and it was very beautiful. A lot of families out in the park and people running up and down the Hauptallee. And today feels like there's something going on.
Mystic cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we've got the Riesenrad, which is the Ferris wheel. We may get a glimpse of that at some point during this challenge, but that's at the far end, and that's the iconic Ferris wheel that appeared in The Third Man, written by Graham Greene. So there's historical references all around this course, and hats off to the research team who scoured the world. We heard at one point that perhaps London was being considered as the main venue to hold this challenge, and as we've heard, no stone was left unturned in terms of searching for the ideal venue. I think we can see today that they've got it spot on here in Vienna. It really is the most naturally appropriate venue for this.
Just have a moment here to think about how good this looks. Take away how fast they're running. These guys just look incredible, especially when you get that, the front-on shot, and you see these guys running so fast, 13 miles an hour, and the kind of ease in the stride. I think, Philip particularly and Jakob look so good when they're on there.
They make it look so easy, don't they? But reality is they've worked so hard to make it look so easy.
They've just upped the pace a little bit. We're actually 13.3 miles an hour. And we should also say that we've mentioned how world-class all of these pacemakers are. Just a sense of privilege to be included and invited to take part. You really feel that from the chats we've had with the pacemakers.
Well, they definitely are here because they want to be here. No one's forced them. They're here, they're here because they wanted to be involved with this. And I remember from Monza, that feeling afterwards, it was a near miss. There was still kind of a party atmosphere.
Oh, for sure. When he finished, I don't know if you remember, but they lifted Eliud and carried him on his shoulders. They all idolize and look up to Eliud, and I think they look at this as a chance to be a part of history today. And it's a beautiful opportunity to help someone that we know can transcend our sport.
One of the things about it is, I think, we touched on this a few times, Eliud is part of a team. He does train with other people, but when it comes down to it, you start on the start line and you're on your own. This feels more like a kind of Ryder Cup moment, or it's a team moment in a sport that doesn't normally have teams.
Yeah, so they're looking to be a part of something bigger than themselves today.
And also quite fun to run. You don't want to be the guy that messes up, but also quite fun just to run with nothing personally on the line for you yourself. You're just running for someone else. I think actually that might be quite of a stress relief.
It is. It's a thrill. It's nice to have that motivation to run for someone else and really allow them to fulfill their dreams because you helped out. That's a great feeling.
Well, they're going around the larger of the two roundabouts. This is the Praterstern, which is at the northern end of this dog bone that we've described the course as. And the crowds, again, really thick, several deep on all sides. And I have to say, here on the Hauptallee itself, the atmosphere is absolutely electric. We're going to bring you the latest splits per kilometre as soon as we can. But so far, so good for Eliud Kipchoge, through 10 kilometres on sub-2 hour pace. And if you're just joining us here, I'm wondering what's that funny laser green line? That's the line that is guiding the pacemakers on sub-2 hour pace. That will get them inside 2 hours on 1:59.59, or even better, we hope, Shalane. So 11 kilometres completed, half an hour of running. So we are a quarter ed of the way through, and he's now fully warmed up and into his running.
Yeah, you'd say he'd be warmed up by now. Half an hour. All he's hoping for the first 3 quarters of this is to keep on schedule. You see sometimes the kilometre splits drift out for a kilometre, then they come back. I think he won't be too worried about that. What you worry about is if they start to drift inexorably. But he'll be thinking right now, this is, he's on schedule, and he doesn't look. I don't know what you think, Shane. He doesn't look like he's having too much trouble here.
Oh, no. Well, first of all, Eliud is just a beautiful runner. And even when he does break down, it's very, very small increments. But the fact that he's within seconds of his goal predicted time right now is not a big factor. If we saw that the splits were starting to drift backwards continuously, but they're not. They're just fluctuating by a second faster, second on, maybe 1 second slower. That's really nothing to worry about right now. As long as the overall time is where we need it to be is what is important.
We can make some comparisons with how he was going in Monza, and actually up to halfway he was inside sub 2 hour pace, and at halfway exactly he was 3 seconds inside, and then at 25k he was still 2 seconds inside. Even at 30k he was only 2 seconds outside sub 2 hour pace, and he admitted afterwards that it was in the final 10k when he really started to feel it, and that's when physiologically the body starts to break down and do some strange things, and we've all experienced it.
It's where the marathon truly does start. It's when you begin the race is 10k to go, and it's all just you know, a foreplay to get to that spot where you're going to be having to race the last 10k. So this is just all setting up the stage. This is just the foundation, but the real running and the real race begins.
This is the undercoat and the primer before we apply the gloss later on.
Yes.
Yes. What about negative split? Very much the modern way, isn't it, in what we could call traditional marathon running, where we have a competitive race. This is very different here. If we believe the information we were getting at the start of the race, we're going for 250Ks throughout. Does that mean that negative splits don't come into it here?
Well, I would temper that slightly. We say everyone always talks about a negative split as being the best way to run a marathon. Very few people actually do it. You know, it's a hard thing to do because you feel worse at the end when you're meant to be going quicker.
For those people watching who don't know what we mean by a negative split.
Okay, so a negative split is when you run the second half of the marathon quicker than you run the first half. And we're only talking about, a few seconds here. The organisers and Eliud himself have, come to the conclusion that, an even split, first half the same speed as the second, is going to be the most efficient way to do this. So, we'll see what he goes through in halfway in, but if it's something like Monza, 59.50, something like that.
59.57 in Monza.
59.57. So I would think he might be a couple of seconds inside that if he's on schedule here.
As an athlete, I would want a cushion. I would want a few seconds under and hope that, I can maintain or even close faster. But for sure, I would want to see something under the 60 minutes when I went through halfway if I were Eliud.
When you ran your fastest, did you run a negative split?
Yes, actually, good question. I think I was going for the American record in Berlin, and I may have actually positive split, to be honest, but I think I went out a little too aggressive for my fitness. But you have to find out where you're at, right? Like, you have to find out what you're capable of. So sometimes you have to push that barrier. I think this is a little bit more calculated. I think they know exactly what he's capable of. And that's the whole point. We're going to find out what he is capable of, and that's what he wants to know.
Yeah. He posted this little thing on Instagram last night, which was, he wants to find out where the limits are. Well, he's about an hour away from discovering, I think.
And we've talked a lot about why this won't be a world record. And again, for those people who are just joining us, Shalane, there are 3 primary reasons why, if he does it today, it will be an extraordinary achievement. It will be an historic achievement, but it won't be a world record. Just remind us of why that is.
Yeah, there are 3 vital factors here why it would not be considered a world record by the IAAF. The first one is Eliud is the sole competitor in this race and in this challenge. In order for it to be ratified, there has to be more than one competitor. These pacers don't count as competitors. In fact, the second reason is having pacers coming in and out of the race also violates the rule. They'll be interchanging. And then the third one is the fact that the fluids will be handed to Eliud via a bike and not picked up traditionally like in a major marathon on a table. So those are the 3 reasons why it will not be ratified as a world record.
And Ed, I was reading actually, and you're a historian of the marathon distance, there was a point at which actually it was illegal to take on any fluid within the first 10 miles of the race. And had somebody done that at that time in history, that would have invalidated any time, any world record.
Yeah, the rules have changed in interesting and complicated ways over the years. There was a race in St. Louis, the Olympic Marathon, where the guy that won the race was on strychnine, which was rat poison. And he was not strictly ushered to the anti-doping tent at that point in 1906. So, there have always been changes to the way that these things are regulated. I think the most obvious transgression of the rules is the pace setting formation.
We're about to head to team number 4, who will take us through the pacemaking team, led by the Swiss Julien Vanders, and they're standing by, waiting for what we hope will be another smooth transition. So team 4 standing by, and let's see how smooth that transition is. Here they go. Shalane, talk us through this one.
Yeah, I'm watching the execution, looked really smooth. We have in the arm sleeves, nice choice today by Lopez Lamong, who's actually a teammate of mine, and I help coach at the Bowerman Track Club. He's a multi-Olympian. Wow, that was a great transition. I love that. And we have one of our only athletes from Japan in this team. Yeah, Lopez Lamong, like I said, of the Nike and USA, the Bowerman Track Club. Patrick Tiernan of Australia. Shadrach Koick as well.
It's a truly international team. Murayama from Japan.
Do you know what? You're not going to get a lot of windbreak out of Shadrach Koick. He's quite a little guy. I'm pleased they didn't stick him in as the captain right in front of Eliud, because he would have got about, his chest up would have been
I'm curious
taken
if that was a consideration.
Oh, it must
size.
Be, right? Must be.
Yes.
I mean, but if you were just thinking about that, you'd get Lopez Lamong right in front of Eliud. He's pretty
true.
Tall. Yeah.
Jonathan Correa, one of the anchor men at the back, a really lifelong friend of Eliud Kipchoge. We got a glimpse of Eliud Kipchoge there, side on, and I wonder if we'll just get a glimpse of his facial expression, just to read into how he might be feeling at this stage. But we've had 3 or 4 transitions so far. Ed, generally speaking, how pleased are you with the way the pacemaking teams have come in and come out? Drop in, drop out, as it's called.
Well, this event was always going to have a bit of ballet about it, and you needed everyone to know what they were doing, what their steps were. I think for the most part they've been pretty good. The idea is that Eliud spends as little time out of the formation as possible, and if you've got 8 changeovers, that's 10 seconds a time when he's not in formation. So,
well, Henrik Ingebrigtsen is one of those pacemaking team. He's just come off and done his duties. He's been speaking, or he's now with Crystal.
Henrik, it's special as an athlete to be involved, but also special as a family.
Of course, it was like an everyday workout for me and my brothers, trying to stay in formation as we normally do in our training.
And how pleased were you with how smooth it went?
I think our team did a very good job. We were a little bit surprised that the laser jumped a little bit, but not completely prepared for that. But other than that, I think the turn went as smooth as it could have been, and also I think all in all, job well done for our team.
So Eliud's on track. What about you and having to extend your season for this event?
Of course, I feel happy to be part of this, and of course, being able to participate in an event like this, and also helping the marathon improve as an event, I feel happy to be part of this.
Great chatting to you, Henrik.
Thanks.
Well, it's been a long season, but I'm sure they won't have missed this for the world, particularly if history is made today. If you're just joining us, you're very welcome indeed. We could be seeing history unfolding here on the streets of Vienna, in the part of this famous park, which runs pretty much parallel to the majestic Danube. And we are 14-15 kilometers into this challenge. It's not a race strictly, it's a challenge. It's an attempt to run the first ever sub-2-hour marathon, and the man at the heart of it is the man in the white vest there, Eliud Kipchoge from Kenya, this supreme athlete, simply the best marathon runner the world has ever seen. He's the Olympic champion. He's already the world record holder, and he is surrounded by his band of brothers, the pacemakers. We've got 41 in total, 35 who will be active in different teams here today, 6 in reserve if we need them. And Ed, with your writing head on, you've described this as something of a Swan Lake affair. Yeah,
Swan Lake meets Chariots of Fire, perhaps. it's partly because of the choreography, but partly because of the colours. You know, Eliud's in white and these other guys are in black. I just think it, you know, aesthetically, it looks very interesting. And you know what I love is, you know, the lasers are pouring out this place on the road where the guys have to find their marks. You know, imagine having to do all this running at 13 miles an hour. You know, we're talking about, you know, a pace that would be crazy for most people, even very fit club athletes, to consider, and you're having to absolutely hit your spots. 12 centimeters to the left or the right, you know, you're not doing your job.
Absolutely right. And as Shalane mentioned, there are parallel, you can see them now on the tarmac, those parallel lines in orange, which they have to keep within, of course, down the Hauptallee. That's very straightforward, but it's actually when they go around the two roundabouts at the either end of this course, so that becomes crucial.
Yeah, those lines are made for Eliud so that he does not cross over, so that he stays in the valid zone for running. If you were to cross over one of the lines, that would create an invalid race because he would be running a shorter tangent line than the actual distance of 26.2.
They're through 15 kilometers. Yet another little landmark has been achieved as they go round the Lusthaus once again. This time they're going anti-clockwise. This is the smaller of the two roundabouts, and you can see, as Shalane has just been saying, that although the pacemakers can go either side of the orange line, Eliud has to stay within it.
Yeah, and you notice when they're going around these roundabouts, they're actually losing the green line. And I think that's what Henrik was saying in his interviews, that he was a little surprised. I think they lose the green projected line when they turn. See, it just came back on right there. So I think it was a little bit of a deception. They weren't, I think, prepared to lose their line, so they have to just guess and, you know, what pace that they're running, but clearly it's not deviating too far.
If you've spotted any little bits of moisture on the camera, don't worry, it's not raining here in Vienna. The perfect conditions continue. It may be a little bit of condensation. If you were with us earlier on, you'll have seen that we had some early morning mist which rose really mysteriously and just added to the aura and the sense of excitement here. But conditions continue to be perfect. The only slight question mark here, just worth reiterating, although temperature was almost perfect, the level of humidity was perhaps a little bit higher than we were expecting.
Yeah, they were not expecting that a couple of days out, and I think, you know, when I came down here yesterday morning at about 7:30 or 8 to run on this track, that was perfect in my, you know, there was a kind of gauzy little bit of sunshine. It was very still. The temperature was exactly right. Today feels like a different proposition. The temperature is good. The temperature is good.
Well, the pacemakers continue to do their job, and they have been expertly put together and assembled by Spencer Barden, who is a very well-known figure in marathon running circles. He's the elite director for the London Marathon. He's been heavily involved in choosing and training and forming these pacemakers, and he's now with Crystal.
First things first, Spencer, is it going to plan?
So far, all is going to plan. So early days yet, still a long way to go, but the exchanges have gone very well so far. Eliud's on pace, so far so good.
I'm interested in the conceptualizing of the formations. Can you take us through that process?
Yeah, so we've done a lot of work in the build-up to this event in terms of looking at the formations, what was best for Eliud, what would give him the most protection out on the course. So we've come up with it's not a conventional formation. We've done a lot of testing with the athletes at the test event and here in the last couple of days. But we've got a fantastic group of world-class athletes. So they're relishing the opportunity, and they're working well in the formation, communicating with each other. And so far, it's all going very well.
And we've seen you communicating with the athletes before and after. What is some of the feedback that you're getting?
Just some final instructions, really. Just more to relax, don't panic. If something does go wrong, just, you know, work it through. Don't get in a situation where the important thing is not to trip or trip each other or trip Eliud. They're just got to stay relaxed. You know, maybe something will go wrong, hopefully not, but the guys are experienced and they know what they're doing.
And the crucial parts come a bit later.
Absolutely, yeah. When the athletes start to get tired and Eliud starts to get tired in the latter stage, that's when we need to really focus on you know, what we're doing. So certainly the last sort of 10k, you know, 30k onwards, that's when it's going to get tough. But we're in a good place.
All the best for the rest.
Spencer Barden there, feeling and sounding very confident indeed, but there's an awful long way to go, and of course the deeper into this race we get, the harder it becomes. Look at that for pacing, Shalane. Absolutely bang on the